I'm a Seneca, not from the Algonquin Nation, but the Iroquois Confederacy. I don't know whether you've ever heard of the Iroquois Confederacy. They're one of the strongest tribes east of the Mississippi. We still uphold our traditional way of life. And I'm a chief. I was chosen by my clan mother. Not by a political stand. I didn't have to go out and tell the people what I'm going to do, what I promised them. But when I was put up as a chief, I have to do the duties of the chief. I can't promise the people, I have to do it. It has to be done. So this is the difference with the politics today. We came to visit here and told us that we would meet with the mayor, but I guess he's out doing his political work. And so I guess we're not that important. But I will tell you briefly about the prophecies in my time. My grandfather here, he knows more about the prophecies way back. My grandmother always told me of the things to come in the future generation, long before there were airplanes and when the railroad was just about starting up. And my grandmother was my teacher. She was the best teacher that I ever had. I had other teachers in education, you know. I argued with them. And I took history up in school. And I always had a mark of a 0 sometimes. And the highest mark I ever got in history was 21. I don't know how I got that. I must have lied about it, I guess. I always hated history in school for the simple reason that as I read down the history book, it would say the white man got massacred, you know, and the Indians murdered, scalped. And this is always the story, you know. I always tried to figure these two words out, you know, what it meant. And I always asked the history teacher what that meant, but he would never tell me. So what I'm saying here is the prophecy to a lot of people who we've been telling is like a story. Maybe it's like a history book to them. But to me, it's something very true because it's happening today. When I was a boy, a young boy, I dreamed a lot of myself going out into the world. Every night, I would fly like a Superman, flying today. And I would see this world, the things that was building up, what was happening. And I'd tell my grandmother about it. And she would tell me, she says, someday you are going to see it. Someday the people are not going to listen to it neither. But what you are going to be on this earth, it's your duty to tell this to the people. Now, prophecies, you probably heard of it. You can believe it, and you can make fun of it. You can do whatever you want with it. But to me, it's a true story because I can see it coming. It's here. It's like I said, I had this vision of flying and looking at all the things that was on this earth. So in 1969, we had a big problem with the government. A word came out that Washington was using a word called termination. Our chiefs received a letter saying that we only had 10 more years to decide what we want to do. Inside of that 10 years, we would get terminated. I was a young boy, just new in my position as a chief, and I went to Washington. I sat in one of the buildings there at a hearing. These gentlemen came out and told us. I don't know whether they were laying the law down or what it was. It was something new to me. So I went home and I studied. Want to know what termination meant. I come to find out that the government wants to take our land away. So I thought to myself, I don't know what he meant by this. Wants to take my land away. And thought to myself, how in the world is he going to take my land away when something greater than him made this land where it is? Like I always heard that story, you know. If you keep digging into the ground, you come into China. So I thought to myself, scratch my head, you know. God, I guess maybe that can be a true story. So I said, well, let's let him do it. And I hope when he gets into China that the Chinese will chase him back out. Tell him to get back in that hole, go back where he belongs. So I thought maybe I'm safe there. So I allowed him. He tried it this way. The prophecy to the Indian people is something that's been told to us that would happen in a future generation. My grandmother talked about how the sky would be full of birds, which you call airplane, but we call it a bird, a big bird. She talked about where our white brothers would make something that looked like a cigar. He's going to tell us he's going to go out of space. He's going to tell us that he's going to go someplace where he's going to try to convince you that he's been there. But in our way of life, he can't do it. He's telling us he went to the moon. He didn't go to the moon. Because we have something stronger, our Creator, that controls this whole thing. He went on another planet. He didn't go to the moon. Because I would have known about it. My mother moon would have told me about it. So this is the way prophecies go. They tell us the time, the destruction that is going to come. It's going to be a lot of earthquake, a lot of tornadoes, windstorms, tidal waves. And also, she told me of the time that this earth would fall away from its axis. Gravitation would start to get lost. You heard of the atomic bomb? Powerful thing. Did a lot of damage in Japan. People today are suffering for it. But you know where it all came from? Right here where we're standing. Right from the earth. That atomic bomb was made by the molecules of this earth. It's hanging up there on the earth, up above us, sitting there. Like they always say, anything that goes up must come back down. You all know it. You throw a ball in the air, comes back down. You heard of the story? The sky is falling. You heard of that story. Comes back down. Was hitting that little girl. And she says the sky is falling. Now those molecules are going to come back down on Earth. What you see happening today is not a story. It's a prophecy, what my grandmother told me was going to come. And that's why when I was put on this earth, I was given a duty to do. The Creator put me down on this earth. So they took me out of the reservation and took me to school. A good school, they say. And that was to my brother's school, my white brother's school. That's when the things started to turn. I learned to steal. I learned what the word stealing was. A lot of other things I learned that wasn't right. So I thought of my duties, so I went back to my duties. I never used the English language in its danger point, but that was the first time I ever used that. I don't know what kind of a language you would call it. But I said, the hell with the school. That was the way my feeling was. So I went into my own work, what my grandmother taught me. From that time on, this is the way I've been working. I got my own church behind my house, what I call a sweat lodge. My people, thousands years ago, used that. We're proving it to you because they have a society here on this United States, so-called United States, called the anthropology, I guess they call themselves, and historians, I guess they call themselves. they're seeing all these things, But they write a history. And in their history, you probably read it, they tell you that they were the first ones to see this, And my people way back, they did this, did these things. But I was in a war. I went to Germany, France, Luxembourg. I was up in the Birches Garden where this man called Hitler had this big palace, a big place, where he could take all these women in there, and each one different places, all made of all the beautiful things that is on earth. Gold, silver, marble, whatever you want. I saw it. So I went to war, I went over there. I couldn't see anything that I was taught, They were talking about modernization. And I couldn't see it back there. I couldn't think where they got this word modernization. Because everything was old-fashioned in those countries, majority of the places. Were doing their thing the old way. So I came back, I says, I guess I'm very pleased that I said, the hell with education. If those people can do their thing, well, I can continue on doing my thing. But we're here in this building. We see a lot of things that the Indian use. You see it yourself. It's all here. Totem poles, boat up there. Some say that came from another world. The Indians didn't have this. The totem pole there. They were taught to do this by somebody else. All these things here, beadwork, designs on it, they were taught. And as I look at some of the things, it follows some of my Indian people here that belong to it. I don't know what the meaning of this is. Some of the story says it's to preserve it. I don't know what they mean by this, preserving it. But I want to tell you one thing. I told you about my church behind my house. Church is very strong. A lot of power in there. I can see a lot of things, visualize a lot of things. Have a lot of power there. A lot of things go in there, and I use it. It's like my grandfather here gave me a feather first time I saw him, eagle feather. People saw it. They thought it was just a gift, see. But there's a different meaning in that gift of that feather. We have respect for it. We use it. We use it for a purpose. And I use it for a purpose because I know the meaning of it. I respect it. You see, people, we've been educated with the book so strongly. We have lost our knowledge. We don't use it no more. We lost the respect. We don't respect. We don't love our neighbors no more. You got a buddy in any of these big cities. You went to service with him. You go to this big city. Can you find your buddy? They have these big buildings, you know, skyscrapers. You got rooms right after another, goes way up. Because he's telling you, the so-called education is telling you the population is getting big. You got no more room, you can't put them any place. But it's not so. If you fly an airplane, you look out all the open spaces. But the reason for this, all these buildings going up, because money is the big valuation. It's a big thing, money. Makes everybody happy. And it has a wrong thing in there. And in that wrong thing it says, the word says, in God we trust. I often look at it, you know, I get that greenback and I look at it. It says, in God we trust. I try to figure out, you know, what they mean by that. And I think back, I read the Bible one time, was preached to me, as I went to school. Like I said, I went to school. And in that Bible, it tells about how you're supposed to trust in God, you know. The law is set there. But here's this money, you know, got that word on there. This is why they populate all this in a big city, because these guys that are running this whole thing there, they look at that green thing, you know, in God we trust. They have all those people in there so that they can get trusted by God, I guess. They're trust. Guess he holds the money, I guess. So they're trying to get this money as much as they can. They're trying to beat one guy to the other guy, trying to get more money, see. I guess he holds the bank, see. See, they apply this on my people all over. They're doing the same thing. So all these things I'm talking about, I finally realized here about not too long ago, you heard a wounded knee. I went down there. And I finally found out what they wanted. They wanted my land so that they could get some more money from God, you know. In God we trust, see. Want to get some more money from God. Because they didn't have enough space. I guess they're putting all these things, skyscrapers and all that in the city. Guess they ain't got enough space. But I don't know where they're going to put us Indians. Maybe that's why he went to the moon. Maybe he's going to take us to the moon. I'll be satisfied with that.
Chief, what are some of the stories, the ancient stories about the moon?
About the moon?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you briefly. The Indians, years ago, lived to be anywhere from 400, 500, 600, 700 years old. There is a story, and some of you people are historians, especially anthropologists in the historical society. There was an Indian man that was 2,000 years old, was writing the history of the future generation. He was 1,000 years ahead of time. He was 1,000 years ahead of time. There was so much power. They used 4 lakes, the secret lakes, and it's on this where we're sitting on today. Not here, but on this United States, what we call North America. It's here. It was in this process. This is how far he was ahead of time. What I'm telling you is coming true. Just the other day, you saw the tornado. That's just an example. Pretty soon, it's going to take a lot. A lot of people are going to go. And you're going to be sitting there and standing there. Why? There's always that saying, why does this happen to my family? Why does this happen to me? Why does it happen to a little child? This is what you're saying. You see how confused you are? In other words, the Creator is talking to us. He's telling us. You didn't pay attention to my path I gave you and everything that I gave you. So now you're going to suffer for it.
Chief, what is the story of the creation when he gave all of this information? How was the earth formed and how was the moon formed? I think that's what the children want to hear.
So the children? Well, first time the earth was made, water mostly. Mostly water. Then afterwards came what you call a moth, I guess. Then he put dinosaur on this earth. For all these, what you call dinosaur, all the different animals. They were huge things. Because he wanted to prove to the world how he could make big things. The Creator proved to the world, whatever he made. To make big things. So he put these animals on earth. They had vegetation, that's all it was. All these leaves and moths was in the water, that's the only thing that could grow. See? So as time went along, there wasn't enough food, the animals started to fight. They had to keep eating, But they started to fight. When they started to do this, it started to kind of move the earth because they were big and strong. There's a lot of vibration going on because the time this animal fell down, it was a big thud. So the Creator came back down and he says, now you're fighting, he says. So you didn't try to adjust yourself on this earth. You didn't try to fix yourself. You didn't try to respect what I put on you. So now I'll destroy you, he says. I'll have something come down and destroy you. So he planted a man on earth. You heard of Bigfoot. You heard the story of Bigfoot. Bigfoot was a man that was 70, 80, 90 feet tall. So he came on this earth, he started to destroy these dinosaurs. But before he destroyed them, he says, someday, to prove to you what I made on this earth, you shall see the dinosaurs' bones come back on earth on top. You heard a lot of things. Heard our statements. Heard of the prophecies and the different things. It's like he says, respect yourself. It's you that is on this earth. It's nobody else. Don't judge. Don't be the judge here. Like he says, Peter would have to be millions and millions of years old to come today when the end of the world comes to judge you. So how that story goes. But it's you yourself that is on this earth. Anything that you commit yourself to, it's you, nobody else. So many times that you blame somebody else. The things that you go through is the Creator's way. We get punished for something that happens. We have to live with that punishment. He challenges us to see how hard we are. In other words, he's telling us what he put on this earth and what he put us here for is to respect what he did for us. It's like I say, he made the stories up. The story still continues on. The stories are coming true, and the time is getting near because those stories are true. We can help one another, especially a medicine man can help you out. We know whatever human being on this earth is mine, is reading. We know the sickness in your body. We know the sickness in your mind. We know everything. We can read you. Like the Creator, he reads all of us, even myself. But it's me, myself, doing the duty on earth. We can live happy and still do our duty on earth. We can be happy about it, enjoy ourselves, and not get mad about it. So you think, what's happening to us today? We keep trying to get that money from God, which says, in God we trust. So, a message that I want to leave to you people is, use your hands the right way, the way the Creator made it. Use your eyes. Whatever you see, you know the wrong and the right. You judge it. Judge for yourself. Don't use that book that you learned from.